Hi, loves. Welcome to a new episode of Villa Vibes and Hot Takes with my sidekick, Avani B.
Hey, y'all.
So, we have quite a bit to talk about today. The couples challenge exposed more than just skin. Olandria and Nic explored more than just dinner, as we all know. It hasn't even been a week.
It really does.
But we saw plenty of kissing, full on betrayal, as Huda came for Ace's lips and his body. Chelley declared war. The villa is on fire with that couples challenge, and the mayhem was taken up a notch. Where do we begin? First of all, I have to bring it up because all we can think about right now is the challenge, but we have to remember that Nic and Olandria did get in that getaway car. They were coupled up for a minute. And that makeout session with the biting of the lips, what the hell?
I'm sorry. Not that I didn't see it at first, but maybe I just, because it was, the producers made it the Huda and Jeremiah show, the entire first half of
Well, it was the Huda and Jeremiah
really,
show.
no, they made it was because they wanted it to be. But who's to say that, like, there wasn't other stuff? Like, we weren't seeing a bunch of stuff in the beginning. But because of that, I feel like maybe I wasn't paying attention to other people, like, because there was just so much going on there, or that they were showing us. It was like, that was the focal point of the entire first, 3 weeks of the show?
Yeah.
That I feel like I missed out on the social cues of those two. You know, if since that's the only way I can call it. I'm so here for Nic Olandria, and I wish that I would have gotten. Look,
you've been saying for weeks that there was some chemistry there. I honestly didn't see it, but you kept saying like
in the challenge kisses
in the challenge. Yeah, you did say that there was some.
And now it's just like, now looking back, I'm like, okay, wait. There has always been. They've always had chemistry.
But Ciara and her are really close.
No, I think what really did it. First of all, this has become Friendship Island this year. This is not Love Island. This is Friendship Island, where the loyalties between friends is more important than actually finding a relationship. That's very apparent with the fact that we are, I think, officially on week 5. So next week is essentially supposed to be the last week.
Oh, wow.
We are in week 5. And there are people who are still like, well, no, I'm open and exploring.
But we're gonna get to that.
That's all about. It all has to do with my point. But sorry. It's just, I think because of the Friendship Island that this has become, there's no one's willing to like step on friends' toes to like get to know the people that they actually want to. We saw this with Amaya and Charlie when she cried when Charlie left, and she was like, I wanted to get to know you, but because of Hannah, I never did. We saw it there. We've seen it, like, I think personally, we saw it with Nic and Olandria, because she had
and now Huda and
I don't even think. Oh, Huda and Chris. Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were gonna say Huda and Ace. I was like, no. I think that Nic and Olandria. Nic definitely, absolutely, without a doubt.
You know what I
found strange? Has been
with all that heat. I didn't see them kiss once during the challenge.
No, because he was sucking her toes.
Oh yeah, that's right. The fucking of the toes.
Yeah, he was toasting. But also remember what, because of Iris.
No offense to those that have that fetish.
No, but remember, because of Iris's conversation with Ciara. Then Ciara went to Nic and was like, I don't know if I'd be comfortable seeing you kiss, like, people, like, certain people. And so I think that's why.
Like,
because I guarantee
sucking of the toes is not intimate.
Yeah, like, that's not even. But I guarantee you, had it not been for the fact that she said that, them two would have been getting down and dirty.
Visual. I can't unsee it.
No, but I'm telling you, they would have been going at it. Because remember, after they broke it off or whatever, what did they also say? Yeah, I'll enjoy kissing you during challenges.
Oh.
And when you go all the way back, remember that blindfold challenge that they did all the way in the beginning? Remember Nic kissed her? And to this day, I don't think anybody knows about that. I don't think anybody knows that he got up and he kissed her. Because remember the whole the whole thing with that was kiss the person that you would also be interested in.
But what I thought, because you're talking about Friendship Islands, what I thought was interesting was that both Olandria and Nic told Ciara that there was nothing there. And I was like, really? Because the rest of us saw I think
that's the thing is that it's because Olandria, I think the only reason why I think Nic said it, to be quite honest with you, I don't think he meant it. I actually think he said it because he saw that Olandria still was tied to Taylor, and he was like, you know what, I'm gonna pull back. Not because I don't want to get to know you, but because I want you to figure out what you want, and I don't want to put that pressure, like, in that sense. And I think it's there for her, but I think for her it's a lot more of that Ciara aspect. And because she's up and like this entire time has had this whole thing with, I want a cowboy, I want a cowboy, I want a cowboy, and it's like, girl.
But now
this is an example of, and I think a lot of people do it. And let's use her as a great example for this. Do not let what you think your type is to distract you from finding the person you're meant to be with. Because there are a lot of people, and not just girls, but guys too, that they're like her. I want my cowboy. I want my Latino man. I want this, tall, dark, handsome. Like, and they're so, insistent on that's what I want, that you're missing all the good opportunities that are actually.
Because you close yourself off.
Yeah, you close yourself off, and you make it kind of known to like the universe.
Like, but that's what I think I'm a little bit like that. Like, I like the salt and pepper hair. I like the tall, drink of water. Okay. Anyway, in other news, I joke. Sorry. Anyway, the triangle. Taylor. Wait. You mean wait? It was a quadruple.
This is a triangle.
It was Taylor. Taylor. Olandria. Clark.
Well, it's that.
It was a triangle.
It's a triangle. It's those three.
But at one point, Coco liked him too.
Coco, damn. Once she switched over, she did stop caring. It was. But
Taylor got all kinds of problems now. Apparently,
here's my issue.
Because he's such a wanted man right now.
Wanted. I didn't realize that a triangle was made up of one person that likes you and the other one that doesn't talk to you. I'm just saying.
Apparently, he has options. Mind you,
what options?
Wait, you know what?
Spoken to your other.
You know what pisses me off from this whole thing? He has not pulled Olandria in for
a half-ass. I'm sorry.
He has not even looked at her, which is the most cowardly thing you can do.
And let's talk about real quick. Let's go back to when right after she came into, got back in from Casa and stuff.
She got booted.
She got booted and came back. But wait, no. Let's talk about, and a lot of people have brought it up. I don't even think I heard it or really saw it because I was so like, yo, Nic and Olandria just like, they was getting down. I was like, holy crap, like, wow. I completely missed it. It was right after, and this is, again, why I'm insistent on Nic and Olandria needs to happen at some point. Because that man gave her the shirt off his back. She said, I'm cold. That shirt came off and it was on her within seconds. If that's not, I'm in love with this girl, I don't know what is. But
he's definitely a different middle within
that same 3 seconds. Taylor, so it was during that conversation of like, I guess there was some kind of handshake going on between somebody or whatever. And Olandria goes to Taylor and she's like, oh, like, damn, we don't got a handshake or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't got a handshake with nobody. And Taylor looks at her and goes, well, maybe nobody like you. I'm like, excuse me?
He is
maybe. I think now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I think he meant that. When he said maybe it's because nobody like you. I know he said it as like a joke, but I don't think he was joking.
I just think he's now all conceited because he has,
all I know is respectfully, Taylor is like that. And then for me, it's
And then the
Like,
way Clark laughed. I mean,
that's
you
my
don't
thing.
laugh.
I don't care that Taylor picks Clark. Like, I really don't. My biggest issue is the fact that during that whole thing, he picks Clark, and suddenly he doesn't talk to her.
Yeah.
He let her on the entire time. There was no communication with him at all. And
weird clothing.
I think so, because the number's counting down.
Okay. It's fine, I get it. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Taylor hasn't even been.
Okay, yeah, Taylor never spoke to Olandria. He didn't say anything. And then the entire time, I'm like, you let this girl on for weeks, knowing that you didn't like her that much. You got with someone, it took you 3 days to switch up. And then even when she was in the house, you never respected her enough to at least pull her for a conversation. Your boys had to tell you, force you to pull her for a conversation. And then on top of that, Clark laughing at the situation and essentially laughing at Olandria for not being picked. That's why for me, she gotta go. Her and Taylor, they can go continue their connection at the airport. I don't care anymore. Yeah.
That was good. That was really good. I didn't see that one.
No, they can. I'm like, y'all want to explore so bad? Go explore at the airport. Because there's no need for you to be there anymore. Because that attitude, and I'm noticing it a lot more, especially now, I think, with everything that happened during the heart rate challenge. That mean girl shit is coming back. Yeah. And I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean,
and girls,
it's just unnecessary.
Amaya Papaya is truly the only girl that's in there.
Amaya Papaya is in her own little world. She is. She lives in Amaya's head. Amaya's head.
The clips of her, I'm like, girl, you're so cute. You were in your own head.
She's won her own place in our heart. Amaya Papaya.
There's another clip of her that they released with After Story, where it was during Casa, and she was in the room with the rotating door. Yeah, she was talking to herself or to the camera like she was on Big Brother.
Oh wow!
That girl's in her own world. She's in her best life. I'm like, you know what? Go up, girl. I necessarily love the fact that it seems like every single time after a big decision's made, she starts crying like with the whole Zach and Olandria getting picked up. I'm like, why are you crying? Even though I gotta real quick, because the fact that she looked like she was ready to jump over the bleachers, and I was like, oh, she's gonna attack Taylor. Taylor's about to get attacked. She said, Taylor, are you dead ass? I thought Taylor was gonna jump.
She had a girl moment.
She did. Somebody needs to.
I need to talk about Chelley and Ace for a minute. So Ace coupled with her. He chose her. Coco left. And now Chris ended up in the villa because Huda wants to explore that. But now,
which is also beneficial to Chelley with Chris being there. I just want to point that out.
So,
since Chelley thinks it's not,
but she liked Ace so much, but she still wants to continue to explore Chris, and she's getting. It's almost like
she wants to have her cake and to eat it too.
Yes. Although some people will say, well, he's not closing it off. So
I actually think Ace was trying to close it off.
You think?
I remember during that conversation, the conversation that he was having with the boys right before that, or with one of the boys, he was like, he didn't want to say to close it off, so that because he didn't want it to seem like, oh, I'm only wanting to close it off because of Chris, to make it seem like I was being territorial or whatever. But I actually do think that Ace is at that point where he wants to close it off.
And I appreciated Chris for pulling Ace out.
Yeah, absolutely. Do I think that those are very hilarious? Absolutely. But
we're not going there. That's a Kevin Hart moment right there.
But do I absolutely appreciate Chris for pulling him? 100%. I do get.
And I hope Kevin Hart doesn't see this.
It's okay. Hey,
but if you do, it's okay to roast me, and you can even come on the show and do it.
We love you.
Oh, I love Kevin Hart. Okay,
but no, it's just I truly appreciate the fact that they sat and they had a conversation about it. I do think he wanted to close it off.
You think so?
To close it off. But I think because of that aspect of like, damn, if I say let's close it off right now, it'll look like I'm only doing it because Chris is here.
That's true.
But I also I don't know, when they were having that conversation, like the moment Chelley, and this is where I started really having, I think, issues with Chelley. So she was the one to bring forward, yeah, but we're not closed off, so it's fine. And Ace, there was I don't want to call it a tick, but there was a switch. It was very small. Mm-hmm. If you weren't paying that much attention, I feel like you wouldn't see it. But there was a switch when she said that. And it almost seemed as though he was very taken aback by the fact that she even said it like that. And it also felt like, in maybe Ace's mind, he was like, well, if you were so serious about me, like, why do you feel that need? And it's, I think because she said it's like a need. She feels wrong not exploring it with Chris. And so I'm like, if that's the case, I'm going to throw her words right back at her. Why is she mad at old girl for...
Well, that's what I want to talk about. Huda, so this has been all over. The internet is literally on fire. Because the question is, was Huda wrong?
No.
For pulling Ace out. And, I mean, she, it was...
Was Huda shaking ass? Absolutely. Was she doing it?
It wasn't just a makeout session.
But but here's my thing. First of all, all Huda was doing was what was required of the challenge. Everybody was doing it. And if it was that big, first of all, Chelley needs to check herself. Truthfully, truth be told. Because when it was Chelley and Ace's turn, Chelley went through all of them, did her thing with all of them, with Chris included during that first round. And then she doubled back. Put her leg up over Chris's shoulder, and then started kissing him. So she was doubling down on that. Yeah. She wanted it to be known. Did Huda sit and be like, girl, can you stop? Can you lower your leg?
They were saying that when she was with Jeremiah.
But that's, for me, and I understand, when she was with Jeremiah, she would have, crashed out, had her moment. Absolutely, she would have. But that's also because of the fact that between her and Jeremiah, I know Jeremiah has a lot of different things he's saying about that whole situation right now, but given what my personal understanding is and based off what I've seen of them two, Jeremiah made it feel very much so like they were closed off without them explicitly being closed off. Because anytime she mentioned, well, if you're going to get to know other people, then so will I, immediately he was like, no, that's not what I'm saying. Yeah. So given that, that's giving... Okay, so then you and I are closed off. We're not doing all that. Which is the same reason why she was caught off guard during that challenge when he, was kissing the hell out of Olandria, because he hadn't done any of those things up until that point. He was always very, in a Jeremiah way, very respectful of that relationship, and so was everyone else. And remember, during that challenge when he was kissing Olandria, she never came at Olandria. She came at Jeremiah. She was like, Jeremiah, you were the one that...
Chelley, not once has she said, Ace, what the hell?
And you know what people have, at least on my feed, I've started seeing a lot of people saying that Chelley might just be that girl that her man cheats and she blames the other woman. And given how she is treating Huda, would I say it's a stretch?
So you would say she overreacted?
Absolutely. And here's the other thing, is that, think about it like this. Chris pulled Chelley, right? They was getting down, they was getting dirty on that ground. They was doing their thing. Yeah. What do you think it would have looked like had Huda not pulled Ace and chosen to pull, Nic instead?
He would have been... You don't think standing on the sidelines, watching the show like all of us.
But you don't think that would have looked even worse? Because then it was now Huda's really going after somebody's man. That to me is worse than us, if we're coupled up and we pull a full couple. Because other people were pulling full couples to do these things with as well. because it makes sense.
What do you guys think? Let us know. Let us know in the comments.
I don't know. Just to me, logically speaking, it doesn't make sense. And a lot of people are talking about, like, they feel that everything was cut because Huda might have been doing something more that they couldn't show on TV. Personally, I don't believe that. I think Ace needed a moment to readjust himself, which is why I think that's why, like, remember how right after that? No, I know. Tonight. But, like, remember how right after that, everybody was like, oh, that didn't look like a challenge. I don't think that was meant to be directed at Huda. I think it was certain people were directing it at Huda in terms of, like, Chelley. But I don't think it was directed at Huda. I think it was directed at Ace, especially given that Huda was the one that raised his heart rate the most.
But did you see the conversation with Andrina and, who was it? Was it Amaya?
So it was Andrina, Amaya, and Huda. They had a conversation first. Andrina and Amaya, they were like, we totally understand. Like, it was a challenge. We were all doing the same thing. We were all having a good time, blah, blah, blah.
But then she went into the opposite.
Andrina went and started telling Chelley a whole different story. She twists and turns the words entirely. And I was like, girl, I actually just started liking her. And I was like, you know what? I think she's mad cool. Like, I liked her. And then you go creating drama where drama already didn't.
Starring the pop.
And then the pop. Sorry. Then you have Sierra, who was, like, feeding into what Chelley was saying, because I think Sierra was projecting how she now feels about Olandria and Nic's situation because of that Iris conversation. And I think that's why Olandria and Iris were so quiet, because I think they know there's a way that some part of that conversation can be turned back on them.
Do you think they'll do movie night now?
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. A piece of me really does. Actually, a big piece of me. I'm like, I don't need movie night. What do we need movie night for? Movie night is usually to expose when you have a strong couple and to expose what other people are saying towards, like, certain people.
Sierra and Nic, that kiss.
But you mean Olandria and Nic? Olandria and Nic.
Yes.
It's just Sierra.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I mean, well, she's
yeah. But I think, okay, if there's only 4 things that I think would be or, like, 3 things that I think would need to be exposed. Outside of that, I don't think movie night's necessary, because at this point we've already spoken about it. But that would be the Nic and Olandria kiss, because I think there was a lot there, and I think if other people saw it, they'd be like, okay, there's definitely more here than just, like, no chemistry.
Right.
I think it would be this whole, all this mean girl stuff that's going on towards Huda. Not because you can't bring up anything that was like Huda and Jeremiah, because Jeremiah's gone. There's no need for any of that. Like, we don't need to bring up all those old conversations. It's just not necessary. Like, if you really want to, sure, you can bring up how, like, naturally Huda felt about, like, Amaya and Iris when they first came in as bombshells. But apparently, from what people have been saying, like, or a couple people that have left have been saying, Huda apparently, like, when stuff that we don't see, apparently she has actually apologized to them, and, like, and she would immediately kind of clock herself after all of it, and, like, after her reactions, and be like, damn, I really was kind of a bitch, like, let me go, like, apologize, and she would apologize. That's apparently from what people who were in the villa, like, I think it was mainly the girls, but the ones that have left have said. Do I know how true it is? No. But I would say the mean girl, comments and everything that have been made behind Huda's back, I would say that stuff should be exposed, because I think it's things that, like, Huda should know.
It's just mean.
It's just things that I think Huda should know, because these are the people that she thinks are her friends, because they look and they smile on her face, and then they go and talk shit behind her back, and I think that she should know that. I think that would be very valid for something for her to know. And then, like, the only other thing I can think of is the comments that Taylor has made about Olandria, and how he wasn't, like, attracted to her, like, what did he say, physically attracted to her, like, all those little comments since he's made up on multiple occasions, and also exposing him for the fact that, like, nothing he did was really out of, like, because he wanted to, it was because other people told him those are the things that he needed to do. Those are the only things I would say movie night is needed for. But outside of that, we don't need to know anything. I think, if anything, at this rate, what we need more is you remember, like, the tweet challenge? When they would bring in the tweets, they would cross out the names and make people guess who they're. That's the only other thing that I would think. And I think there's a lot of things that could be exposed during that, I really would like to hope that they wouldn't sit and like try to make like do what they did last year with Leah. I think Leah caught really short end of the stick with that one where remember they made her feel like America hated her and like thought she was a terrible person when in reality
they kind of did that to her a little bit too though.
Yeah, but I think now especially
I don't think we need to make anyone feel like that.
That's why I'm saying that's why I'm like that challenge scares me because of that. Because they've already wanted to pin her as this, you know, as a certain person, and I would feel so bad, especially looking at how much progress she's made at this point. I feel bad.
I don't think it's necessary. Okay, so what do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Pepe and Andrina.
You know what? I'll take it. I'll take it only because they do seem to have some kind of something there.
She's got
at this rate. It seems like she wants it more than she wants Bryan.
I know. I'm seeing that.
So
should be interesting.
For that alone, I'm fine with it.
All right.
And that's again removing what I now know about who her character actually is.
Good point. Chris and Huda. He really likes Chelley.
I'm here for it. I'm just really kind of upset because like Huda actually seems to be trying. She actually wants to make it work. And then Chris now seems to only be zoning in on Chelley. And it's like, Chris, your ass would have been going home if it wasn't for the fact that Huda actually liked you and wanted to get to know you.
Austin and Jaden.
They can go home for all I
I'm sexy and you know it. Oh man, I don't know that guy.
Just at this point, Austin's entertaining to me when
I think that's
he's
why
like
he's there right now.
He's entertaining in the sense of like when they have things like the Megan challenge or last night, hella entertaining. I was like, yes, Austin, eat. Outside of that, they don't add anything to the flavoring of the show.
How about Amaya and I have to agree. How about Amaya, Papaya, and Zach?
I like them.
By the way, I saw
Okay, after seeing that,
we're gonna see what happens though. We're gonna see. We'll talk about it next time. We'll talk about it next time.
Remember, he always in the beginning was interested in Olandria, but because of Taylor, they didn't get that chance.
So let's see what happens with that. And what's the other? I forget the other. Iris and DJ. I forget they're there.
No, JD was the one that was like, "No, you like to be dominated. I don't like being dominated."
Oh yeah, that guy. No, enough said about that. I'm not even going there.
You know,
you're too dominant.
You know, he still talked about that one, and I'm not gonna lie, they threw the four of them out so fast after they aired that episode. By 5 o'clock that next morning, they was already at the airport.
And they, like, and about what's his name, Elan. There's gonna be some fighting words.
Given that, Nick was like, I want to throw hands. I think
they should put together a boxing match and just get it out.
So I think that one's going to be very interesting because Elan definitely isn't going to back down from Sierra.
No, it doesn't look like it
at all. I think at this rate, Sierra and Elan are definitely going to continue getting to know each other. This is my prediction. I think Sierra and Elan are definitely going to continue getting to know each other. I think it's going to be a very big toss-up between the two for her. I think Nick, I don't know. Nick is very hard because I think he definitely likes Sierra. I'm not saying he doesn't. But when I see him with, like, and I loved my girl, Beldacha. Like, I loved Bella. But with Sierra and with Bella, he didn't have that, like, sparkle in the sense of, like, his smiles don't necessarily reach his eyes. Like, he looks happy enough, but not in that way that he did with Olandria.
Yeah.
With Olandria, like, even looking at, like, the way that he was complimenting her and, like, all those little things, like, well, one of the things that stood out to me was Sierra said to Elan, I like how our conversations go. Something about, like, him being very mature, like, she felt like their conversations had more substance. And maybe that was because of that maturity or something. And then in that same clip, they switched to when Nick was talking to Olandria. And what was it that Nick said to Olandria? I want you to know the mature version of Nick.
Oh.
And so for me, that's very telling of like, I think he does like her. That's without a doubt. But I don't think he wouldn't yearn for her in the way that he would for Olandria.
Remember, Bonnie V said that. So, has anyone actually found love yet?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And is anyone even playing for love anymore?
I don't think there's any. And this is why I think this is gonna be. This season has already had a lot of downfalls in terms of what Love Island's supposed to be. I know people have been kind of commenting on Ariana Madix a little bit in the sense of she recently said, I think it might have been during After Sun actually, that she said something about like people aren't tests or whatever. Like Casa's not supposed to. It's not a test or people aren't tests. Like you're supposed to make new connections. People have actually been calling her out though because last year that's not what she said. She said Casa is supposed to test relationships. It's supposed to test your connections with the people that you left, like that you were originally with. And we have all people who have been watching the show for me. I can speak. You know, I've been watching it since season 3. Casa has always been supposed to test the real connections because whoever could be broken up during Casa More, that was supposed to show, okay, your connection wasn't strong enough to begin with. But then there were a lot of people who they experienced what they experienced during Casa, and they still came back to their original people and like continued building on those relationships. So, and I know Clark didn't like being called a test, whatever, but it's not wrong. Like that's what Casa was always supposed to do. Casa, the people who came into Casa More were supposed to be tests to those relationships.
Well, we're gonna see. I don't know. I don't even think there's more challenges left.
There's the 4th of July one.
Oh,
the food challenge.
Oh, yeah, I can't. I just can't
skip over it every year.
Can't do it.
But at this rate, I'm like, I don't even know what they're gonna play anymore. Like, I don't know because this is such a different season in terms of there's no love, there are no connections. Like by now, especially by now, usually we're looking forward to. I think usually we call this Family Week.
Yeah.
Because this is usually.
I'm not even looking forward to that.
I don't think we even need a family. What do we need a family week for? There's no real connections, and that's why I was saying like earlier when I was talking about like Chelley talking to Ace about Chris and stuff like that. The fact that we are in week 5 and people are still like, well, I'm still exploring connections. We usually have at least 1 to 2 couples by now that are closed off. Oh, and I wanted to say real quick, I'm sorry. Before we wrap up about this year's heart rate challenge, I just wanted to ask you, like, what did you think about the format of this year in comparison to the previous years?
I kind of liked last year's. I'm not sure I wanted the couples coming in and doing.
I thought that.
I mean, at some point they even had the triple thing going on.
You know what? It's like that's fine, but my biggest issue with it was, I think it created a lot of like weird like it didn't feel as as the heart rate challenge usually feels a lot more playful.
Yes,
it feels very 100%. Fun, very free. When you think about even last year, because last year is the one that's freshest in my brain. You know, having Leah and Miguel and Janae. If people hated Huda this year, they would have hated Janae last year because Janae was eating down. Yeah, but I missed that playfulness. Like, you know, it's supposed to be. First of all,
Sierra made out like a bandit though.
Yeah, she did, but. This year it was 800. It was like how many of them was it? I think it was close to 20 of them, pretty much. I'm like, first of all, why are there so many people on that damn couch? Yeah. And second of all, like I liked when they had it as like if the girls were gonna go, the guys were sitting down, and the order in which you went like to perform, dare I say, mattered because if you were that first person. You could kind of do whatever you wanted. Nobody was gonna know. Nobody was gonna see it. It was between you and the boys that were sitting there and whoever was at that balcony. That was the best. And because of that, it was very free and it was really fun. This year, it felt messy. It felt messy, and it felt like how last year because it was so playful and free. Like people were allowed to be themselves a lot more. Like, do you remember Cordell's? Cordell's was all like his was all like shits and giggles, and it was so funny. But he raised the most heart rates because he wasn't trying to be sexual. They weren't really trying to be sexual last year. Like Leah didn't do anything. She wasn't like shaking ass, but she was making like really good one-liners that were the ones that got them. Yeah. And even thinking back to a couple of years before that, do you remember Deb? When she came out and she was as like a cowgirl, and she dropped the gun and she was like, "Oh, there," and they were laughing and it was like a good moment. All we had this year was the first one that it felt like a challenge. It felt like a game, and I don't mean that in a good way. I mean that in the way of like they were doing the most to try to be better than everyone. I
just felt like everyone was trying to outdo each other, and it was just messy.
And that genuineness went down as
100%.
And that's why I think, you know, when we got to Huda at the end, and it was everybody was like, "Whoa, I don't know what happened." Blah, blah, blah.
Well, if this challenge proved anything, it's that loyalty is low and egos are high. Yeah. The mess is only getting deeper, and we'll be right here for every unhinged second. Stay tuned because it's only gonna get wilder. We will see you at our next recap of Villa Vibes and Hot Takes. Talk to you soon.